So welcome everyone to another of our theme sessions. I am Jane Ring. I'm the Parent Support Officer for Look. Some of you are new tonight, which is really brilliant. We like to do these for the BI community, and this one I've had in the pipeline for a while because I think the idea of the future and independence and thinking about your child leaving home can be very overwhelming. So hopefully we don't have all the answers, but we've got some amazing panelists to come and talk to you. And there is some housekeeping just to remember to be respectful and that to mute ourselves, particularly because there's a lot of people on the call, but you will get the chance to ask questions from each of the panelists. The way we're running it tonight is that we have Susie and Anna going first, and then you will get to ask some questions of them both. And then we'll have Rachel, who's one of our wonderful mentors from Look, and you can ask her questions. And then Alice from Henshaw's at the end. So I want to just say a big warm welcome to our panelists to start with. Thank you for coming and being willing to share your experiences, and also Alice to share what you've got to offer young people as well and support you give. So I'm going to see if I can spotlight Anna and Susie, because that's a very nice thing to do. And just say, please, can you introduce yourselves? And Anna, I think you're going to go first, aren't you?
I am. Thank you, Jane, and hello everybody. It's a real pleasure to be with you tonight and to share our experiences of my daughter Susie. I'm Anna, I'm the Anna, and this is the Susie next to me, to share our experiences of Susie's journey into moving into her own home. So I'm Anna, I'm Susie's mum. Susie, do you want to introduce?
I'm Susie and I'm Anna's daughter.
And Susie, do you want to tell everyone a bit about yourself?
And I'm blind, so I can't see anything.
And what else about how old you are?
I'm 28.
And where do you live?
And I live in it's called Number 1, Chantry Meadow, Alphington in Exeter.
In which county?
In Devon.
Okay, and what about, just mention school and college?
And I went to school, a primary school, in Cornwall, and it was called Illugan School, and it was near the house that I used to live in. It was mainstream.
And then what about?
And then I went to college at the West of England School and College for children with little or no sight.
And how old were you when you went there?
And I was 11 when I went there.
And what about sleeping there?
And I used to board from Monday to Friday and come home at weekends with Mum and Dad.
Okay. Thank you, Susie. So that was Susie's school life. She was at mainstream school until she was 11. We lived in Cornwall, the other end of the world, and services down there for visually impaired children were very few and far between. And the decision was made when Susie was 11 for her to go to a specialist school and college for the blind in Exeter in Devon, where she boarded through the week. So we kind of had the opportunity to get used to not being together through the week. And then Susie would come home at the weekends and holidays. When it came to moving Susie on, so Susie was at her college until she was 20, oh my goodness me, 25. We managed to maximize her time there with an education, health and care plan. And when we thought about moving her on into her own home, the most difficult thing for us was where, because we were living in Cornwall, but Susie's life was in Devon. She had been at her school and college since she was 11. And have made some really good friendships and relationships, and the services in the area, I think the specialist services that had grown out of the college, were still providing Susie with some of her sort of key areas of development, such as her mobility and her life skills and independence. So we decided, rather than bring Susie back to us, that as a family we would move up to be close to her and keep her in the community she knew. So the decision was made to look for somewhere in Devon for Susie. I was just, I think, extremely fortunate that I came across another parent at her college who, with a group of parents, had set up a home for their own young children and young people, all of whom had really quite complex needs. So they all needed a high level of support. And I went to hear her speak. What she had done was absolutely incredible, what she had achieved, but I knew that it was a huge, huge amount of work. So I approached her and asked if she would consider another home, or helping us with another home. They had set up as a charity. I think that their intention was to stop at, they had developed 2 homes for their own children. I think their intention was to stop there. But she did say, well, look, where there's a need, there's a lot of goodwill within the charity. And I said, I promise you, I can find all the young people. That's not a problem, if you could take on the challenge of another house. And they did. And we're currently sitting, where are we?
In my house.
In which room?
My bedroom.
So we're currently sitting in Susie's bedroom in her own home. The charity is called Rainbow Living. It's Devon-based. It's a Devon-based charity. And I'm really pleased to say that Rainbow Living have gone on and developed since another house. So they have 4 houses in Devon. The other thing that we were very keen to do was try and retain some of Susie's friendships. And actually one of her closest friends, what's your close friend called?
My close friend is called Megan.
And Megan and Susie were at school together from 11, and Megan is one of Susie's housemates here. So Susie shares her home with Megan and 3 other gorgeous young women. Megan and Susie both have a visual impairment. The other young women have a learning disability. They all have various needs and various abilities, but they absolutely love each other. It's a wonderful, wonderful home. What we were able to do was leave the charity to find the money. They were absolutely incredible in their knowledge of fundraising and getting grants and accessing money for the development. They bought a house which they then adapted. Susie has physical needs as well, so she's got a lovely adapted bedroom with a big ensuite and electric, what's your bath called?
A high-low bath.
A high-low bath. And then as we started finding other young people to share, and they've ended up all being girls, ladies, young women, but actually we were open to anybody who came along, really. But what was really important was the compatibility, not just between the housemates, but between the families as well. And that was possibly one of the trickier things, is knowing that everybody sort of had the same vision and wanted the same environment and outcomes for their girls. So again, we had compatibility meetings with families until 5 of us actually felt, yeah, we can make this work. Then as families and with our girls, we researched and interviewed and recruited a care provider. the tricky thing there was really to make it work. We had to have one care provider who could develop a team for all the girls, despite the fact they all had slightly, or actually a wide range of needs. But it wouldn't have worked for each girl to have had a different care provider, obviously. And we found a wonderful provider called TheraCare. And TheraCare have been in place and providing care for the house since, how long have you been here, Susie?
I've been here 4 years and 8 months.
Well, well done. 4 years and 8 months. We've had the same provider, and I'm really pleased to say they've been so incredible. Actually, they are now providing care for all the other Rainbow Living houses, which I think is a sort of testimony to their the good care that they deliver. They're a really fabulous company. So it took from the day we started, or from the day I met Ruth from the charity to Susie moving in, was just under 5 years. So it took a long time, lots of planning, lots of bringing social care on board, lots of assessments, as you can imagine, lots of ensuring we had the right funding in place for Susie's care package, lots of preparation, lots of transition, lots of support from the college for her to transition into her own home, lots of interviewing of staff to make sure we got a really good team in place. And what I'm going to do is hand over to Susie, because that's kind of the practical side of how it happened. But I think what's important is you hear from Susie what it was like for her. So I'm going to hand over.
So what it was like for me is I was a little bit anxious at first, but once I'd moved into the house, the anxiety actually left.
And what were you anxious about, Susie?
I was anxious about because the bath was, when I first got into the bath, I couldn't get in because it was too high. So what they did was they got an adapted chair, which gets me into the bath myself, and it's called a high-low bath.
And was there anything else you were anxious about?
And that was it when I first moved in.
Okay, and anything else you want to say? What was it like being away from mum and dad at first?
It was a bit stressful at first, but then I got used to it.
And what about the staff? What about your care staff?
So the other thing that I found stressful was I used to have the same staff every week, and now that's changed because I have different staff on every day now, and it's more relaxing for me.
So Susie is a creature of habit, and she loves her routine, as I'm sure some of your children and young people do. And introducing any change could be very, very stressful for Susie. And I think what Susie said about the bath is really interesting, because no amount of assessment and care planning always captured some of those really little things that were so important to Susie. Nobody ever really thought about asking her, you know, what things she was really worried about. And sometimes if Susie's very worried, she struggles to express that, and her worries come out a little bit more in some anxious behaviours. So I think the staff realised how important it was to really reassure Susie to express all her concerns. And you know, the kind of heart of a person-centred approach is what works with Susie, that lots of time is taken to really listen, not to just what she says, but sometimes how she's feeling, and try and get to the bottom of that. And they do that very well, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Would anyone like to ask us any questions?
Charlotte does.
Oh,
Hi,
sorry, I
Charlotte.
should do my virtual.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hi there. Hi, Susie. Hi, Anna. Thank
Hi,
you.
Charlotte.
Hi. Thank you for telling me so much about your lovely home.
That's okay.
Are you enjoying living with Megan? Is it nice to have your best friend with you?
It is, yeah. I'm
That's
enjoying
great.
living with all the girls I live with, thank you.
Oh, fabulous. And do your care team take you out and about in the community to go and
They do, yes.
And what kind of places do they take you to, Susie?
Okay, well, every other Wednesday I go to music, and every other Wednesday I go to charity shop.
You work
And
there,
I
don't
work.
Oh, lovely.
What about
And
riding?
I go horse riding, and I do stuff at weekends, like go out for lunch.
And you have to, so Susie and her housemates are all responsible for keeping their house clean and tidy. There's a rota.
We have to do chores.
Yeah, and the shopping.
The shopping.
Do you have one-to-one, Susie? So do you have someone with you at all?
I have one every day, yes.
Okay,
So,
and they
so
change.
Susie has yeah, well, someone just said, could you tell us a little bit about the care package? So Susie has a personal budget, which is paid to me, so I manage it. And that personal budget's used for her care that's delivered by Thera, so the care she receives in her home. And 3 days a week, Susie also goes to an adult community group that's a part of her old college, which is called Jigsaw, and she meets up with loads of the friends she's been at college with for many, many years. So that's lovely. And they do lots of different activities. And her personal budget pays for that for 3 days a week. Susie's assessment that was done
Megan goes with me.
Yeah, Megan goes with her. Her assessment that was done before she came here secured a very high level of support. So Susie has one-to-one support from 7:30 in the morning until 9, I think, or 8:30 in the evening. Susie has the highest level of support of the girls in the house, but all of them have a level of support, and they share a sleeping carer at night. So there's a carer's room and there's a sleeping carer, and Susie has chosen to have a monitor because she feels a bit anxious sometimes, and the carer can then hear if Susie needs them, she'll call in the night. So we have the personal budget covers that level of support. It's a high level of support, plus her going to her, I'm afraid it's called adult day services. Well, they've changed it to Jigsaw, but that's what she does 3 days a week. Susie also receives PIP at the enhanced rate and the PIP mobility. So Susie has her own car here that her carers use to take her out and about. She does use public transport sometimes as well, don't you?
Yes.
And Susie's a wheelchair user, so sometimes public transport can be more difficult for a longer journey. She gets employment support allowance, and because she lives in independent living, she also gets, I've forgotten what it's called now, the severe disability premium with her PIP. She does have to pay toward her care, so every local authority charges an amount of money to go toward the care package, and then it leaves her. Fortunately, Susie's not too bothered by fashion.
No.
So it leaves her enough money to enjoy the things she enjoys and to have a little break. Where did you go just before Christmas?
I went to London.
She went to London with who?
With my one of the carers who works here, Julie. And I've known Julie since I was at college.
Yeah.
So what
And then,
sorry, what I'm interested in knowing is I have an 11-year-old daughter called Scarlett, who's quite similar to Susie in terms of her needs. She goes to a complex needs school at the moment, and we're very fortunate that we live in Manchester, and it's just the other side of Manchester. It's the perfect place to meet her needs. And on the school, they have a short breaks facility. So she has 52 nights a year there at the moment. That goes up to college and can go right up until the age of 25, as long as she can be peer matched successfully, which we feel Scarlett will be. I spoke briefly to Jane about it the other day, didn't I, and thought that I wasn't quite sure what to do with Scarlett, because Susie is boarded from being 11. I expect that transition into independent living would have been a lot easier for Susie to do. So I've been toying with the ideas of perhaps trying to get Scarlett a residential placement once she turns. So I don't know whether or not that'd be possible with the school being so local to us, or I should look perhaps maybe at like the Harrogate VI school, Henshaw's one. So yeah, that's kind of my big thinking at the minute. Is it going to be keeping her in the same place until she's 25? Because she's been at that school since she was 4. And then is it going to completely rock her world to put her into because something like what Susie lives in now would be I didn't even know houses like this existed. So that would be my ideal vision for what I'd like to see Scarlett in. I'm just not sure whether or not my transition would be as smooth as Susie with her being primarily at home.
I think you're absolutely right. I think when Susie went to her specialist college, it was very much because there was nothing in Cornwall that could meet her needs. So we didn't have anything on the doorstep. So we didn't have to go through that battle that a lot of families have to go through in the first instance to get her into the right school. It was a blessing and a curse, really. It was a curse initially because she was only 11. And the last thing we ever wanted to do was have our 11-year-old child being away from us through the week.
Yeah.
But then obviously as she got older, it really helped with that transition process. And we had got very used to being away from each other. And certainly for me, to hand her over to other people to care for her was extremely difficult, but it really built my confidence in the fact that other people could do that, and Susie could thrive and be happy. And we obviously saw her developing her independence as well.
I think it's really helped, hasn't it? It certainly would have helped in a residential place. It's just knowing at what age do you start, because you must understand everything takes a lot longer for them. Absolutely. At what stage do I start panicking or preparing to kind of?
I'm guessing if you're getting that respite, it's how you build something into that transition plan. That you plan for that transition, and a part of that plan is a graduated time away from each other.
Yeah, well, I think she can go up to, I think it's 79 nights a year she can go up to in there eventually, and that and then time after that she's like a looked after child.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
sending her away to a new setting and having her a Monday Friday border, perhaps just up in there.
I mean, if it's any help, Susie boarded. No, I don't think, in fact, none of the other girls who live in her house boarded. So Megan lived locally and attended the school locally, and the other 3 girls, none of them boarded. So for all of them, it was straight from the family home to here. But there was a transitional approach to that. So they would come, the house was all set up. They secured housing benefits, so all the girls receive housing benefit, and they gradually came and stayed a weekend, then for 3 nights. So it was a very gradual approach. They didn't all move in together, it was staggered. So I don't think it has to be, it can be done as slowly as you want to.
That
That's really helpful. I just hope there's rainbow livings all over the country.
No, it's not. Rainbow living is Devon only, but the
Yeah,
development of supported living, I mean, I'm not sure, it's probably stalled through the pandemic, but
yeah.
certainly supported living is, you know, there are supported living developments happening around the country. It's probably worth, you know, going on your local authority website, have a look at your local offer, any, you know, where they talk about housing and what housing options are there, and your local
oh no.
authority social services should have, you know, housing people as well.
Hey,
Is
thank
she-
you very much. Sorry, I've hogged loads of
But
time
the
there.
way
I've
you
never
can
chatted
do
to
it,
someone in
you
your
know, I
position
don't
before.
want,
I'm not going to ask anything else now. I'm done.
yeah,
adding,
I mean, I don't want to sort of simplify anything, but you know, finding a group of like-minded parents as well. You can do this yourself. So you know, if you can pull together with other parents and make it happen. I do know groups of parents that have done this. If you seek out people, it's about you know, having that same vision.
and now we know that this model works in Devon, then yeah, we can hopefully replicate it elsewhere. So Anna and Susie, before you go, there are a couple of other questions. So
Yeah.
Claire's asked, did you find that the transition to independent living was easier having been at West beforehand, do you think?
What do you think for you?
Well, I found it easy, but when I used to go home from West, I used to find you know, like transitioning from West to home hard.
Yes, I mean that is interesting. Sometimes Susie actually struggled each week with the sort of having to go up, leave. It was a 100-mile journey, be at her school and college for the week, and then come home. Sometimes I think that was quite stressful for her. But I think without a doubt, it got us both used to being away from each other. So I think in terms of that sense of security, of knowing that for me, certainly knowing that she was okay, she was well cared for, that we had good contact, we could phone, she could phone us. I mean, here, while she's been here, you know, we FaceTimed, but at college, I don't think I ever was really worried. I probably sat by the phone for the first month without a doubt. But yeah, I think in terms of building my confidence, it was probably great. But yeah, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I'd rather she hadn't gone away and boarded at 11. I think that was very young, and we missed her. She's got 2 brothers, and we missed her terribly as a family through the week. I felt that she, you know, she missed out on a lot of family stuff. But subsequently, as she was older, yeah, it was probably quite helpful.
Brilliant. Right, there's a couple more questions and then we need to hear the next person. And then Susie, you have to get on with your nighttime routine, don't you?
And I've got my top tips I can just call out.
Brilliant. So Sarah's asked, can I ask Anna and Susie why they did it this way rather than using an already existing supported living environment? So I guess choosing, you know, the rainbow living way.
I'll answer that because I did go and see a few other options. I went and looked at some places. I'm not going to name any charities, but there were a number of national charities, and they just weren't what my vision was. They were very, very different. And I think it was luck as much as judgment when I went along and heard this parent talk about what she had done. And I knew Susie was 16 at the time, and I absolutely knew if I didn't chase this now, we could miss what was presenting as an incredible opportunity. So I just grabbed at it and went with it, and it was the best. We've never looked back. It was the best thing I did.
Yeah, it's because I was going to ask you how you found the experience, because it is emotive for us, isn't it? Not having our children, and so I guess you can do your top tips in a minute. Susie, it was there. So being at home was good, but the transition was hard. So what do you prefer? Do you think? Did you prefer your time at?
Well, sometimes when I used to go home, I used to say I'm going back to school.
But do you still enjoy your time with your family now? Is it more precious?
I still enjoy my time with my family, and with my transition now, I'm a lot better because I know I can go home.
Lovely. So you've got a home. Brilliant. And that's how it should be.
I think what Susie's just said, I remember the first day her using the word home to talk about the place that we're in now. And I just thought, yes, that we've done it. So Susie absolutely refers to this house as her home, and our house, because we did end up moving about 10 miles away, and we're mum and dad's.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And one of the things I said to people, would you be okay to write down your package? Because sometimes it's really overwhelmed, or, you know, where you get things from. Because I think when you're thinking about independence and the next stage and preparing for adulthood, to know where to go to and what to look into. And obviously you did it a long time in advance, because that's what needs to happen. So that would be really, is that possible?
Yes, I can. I'll write down our sort of our journey, the pathway.
That will be absolutely brilliant. And you've had, Susie, before your mum does the top tips, you've had a message saying you're both so brave and really inspirational. Thank you for sharing. It is lovely. It is lovely for everyone to hear from you both. Oh, and Charlotte just wants to know how often you visit, Anna. How often do you...
I visit my mum almost every weekend, but some weekends I can't do because she's away, or I'm busy, or
yeah. Susie comes and stays most weekends with us. I mean, we through the pandemic it was a bit tricky, but we were able to come up and walk around the block with Susie. And I mean, her home is her home. We're here tonight, you know, we're welcome here anytime we want to. I call it the house of joy. I open the door and suck in the positivity. It's the most incredible place. It really is.
Oh, thank you both so much. Susie, thank you for coming to speak to us.
That's okay.
You're a star, both of you. Maybe I can come and visit your house of joy sometime.
Yes. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to our next panelist now.
Well, I do my top tips, Jane.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Of course.
So I'll do them really quickly, but these are things that I think really helped our journey. I've got 5 tips for you. Wow. The first one is giving your child a voice. And one of the things that I realized, you know, Susie is very done to. She's been very done to through her life. And we needed to make sure that Susie found her voice. And for a very long time, and we still did it, if Susie asked if she could, what do we say when you ask whose
life is it?
Yeah, whose life is it? We just say to her, whose life is it? And whose is it?
Mine.
To really get her in the place of knowing that she had a voice and she could make choices and have some control. That moves me to my second top tip, is reframing and rethinking independence. And independence isn't about being able to do it for yourself. It's about being able to make a choice and having control. So, you know, Susie can't put her own shoes on, but she can ask or tell people which ones she wants to wear. And that was really, really important, that even though Susie needed things doing for her, she could still have the choice and control. The third tip was creating the vision and identifying the outcomes. So when we wanted to move Susie into her own home, I just created this vision, or I've actually got my husband sat here, I'm not letting him get a word in, but we created a vision which was, as parents, what is it that we want? And the outcomes were very simple, very, very reasonable outcomes. We wanted Susie to be happy and healthy. We wanted her to have opportunity and life choices. Going on to the fourth one was bringing the professionals on board and sharing the vision with them and convincing them actually that our vision was realistic, it was achievable, it was reasonable, and therefore affordable. So we knew that we had to have them on board, so they would say, yes, let's make this happen together. So proper teamwork. And my fifth tip is Susie has probably got files and files and piles of plans and assessments. And what I wanted to do, because we know nobody reads them, I thought, how can we put this vision down in a really accessible way that people will read? So I wrote, and I'm happy to share this, Jane, that you can send out to everyone, but I wrote a letter from the future back to myself, projecting to about now, to when Susie was an adult and living in her own home. And in that letter, I laid out all the things that I hoped would be happening in her future. So it would be that she was living with a friend, tick, that she'd have a job, tick, albeit not paid yet, we're working on that, that she would always be dressed nicely and look lovely, tick, that she would be happy. I put all of that in a letter, and instead of showing everybody assessments, I gave everybody that worked with Susie, from the social worker to her personal assistants and support workers, a copy of her letter. It was 1.5 pages long. I would have them read it, and then I'd say, do you think that's a reasonable ask? And nobody could disagree. So that was our vision in a letter. And actually, I think our whole professional team came on board with that and became as excited as we were and as Susie was. And we just said, we're gonna make that happen. I'm going to share that with Jane. It's a lovely exercise anyway. It's very therapeutic to do. And I want to finish by saying, I know exactly how you guys feel. We've been there. And to finish on a positive note, I would never have believed that Susie's life would just be so fabulously full. I can hear the other girls screaming with laughter next door. So fabulously full and happy, and that her dad and I would be able to breathe out and feel relaxed about where she is. So good luck, everyone. What do you say?
Good luck.
Thank you, Susie and Anna. Honestly, there's loads of positive messages. Yes.
The other thing I wanted to say was, when I used to have transition problems, when I didn't want people to go, I used to hide their keys.
Good, and that's a really good indication, isn't it, that you like somebody?
Yeah.
Right, you're going to say goodbye to everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Susie. Bye, Anna.
Lovely to meet you, Susie. It's Rachel.
Enjoy the rest of the meeting, everyone. And if anyone wants to send any questions through to Jane, I'm sorry, I will go, but I'll liaise with Jane and I'll send that letter through.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Anna. It was so lovely and joyful having you all here. See you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Right, so I am passing over now to Rachel. Oh, sorry, I've made my I just made my chat really big so I couldn't see anybody. Hello, Rachel. I am going to spotlight you if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So then people can look at you. And Rachel's I've got a few questions just in case, Rachel, you know, it's kind of, you need a little bit of focus, but actually I'm sure you've got it all down because we had a great chat last week. But Rachel's going to tell you about her life and what independence means to her.
Hello, yeah. My name's Rachel, and I have I have been living on my own I shared a flat. I went to Angels College first of all when I was 16 and left there when I was 20, and then I shared a flat with a friend, my friend Sophie, and then and then for about 18 months, and then I moved into my own flat, and I've had my own flat ever since, and I love it. And I have like I think about 15 hours of support a week, so that I can be independent, and it just keeps me safe, so that actually I'm not so that I can make sure my meds are taken and get food shopping done and all that kind of and also it helps just to keep on top of everything. So because I have epilepsy, this is on top of my visual impairment. I have epilepsy, autism, hemiplegic cerebral palsy, depression and anxiety. So I have quite a lot of different disabilities, but it doesn't stop me being independent. I just have to do things a bit differently and make sure that the support is there, so I'm not so I'm able to manage, and I see the support like an extra like set of hands or ears, or kind of just a bit the same as like I have my cane to help me be able to get out and about and be independent out and about. I have my support to be able to help me do the stuff and keep on top of the stuff that I need to be able to do independently. So then I'm able to manage the stuff that I can do by myself much more easier and safer, if that makes sense.
It does. So would you like me to ask some of the questions that I'd...
Yeah, please.
So what helped you to leave home, do you think?
I knew I wanted to be independent. Like I needed to be independent away from like I needed to move out of my area because I got very badly bullied in Peterborough. So I moved out of that area to and I got a much better life where I live now, and I love Harrogate, and so that's what made me move, and it gave me the confidence. So
brilliant. So it's just out of interest. Someone's just said, so lovely to hear you are feeling much better in your new area. That's fab.
Thank you.
So what do you do you have a job? Do you have a volunteer? What do you get up to in the week?
I did do quite a lot of volunteering. Yeah. I'm wanting to get back into volunteering, but it's finding the right volunteer work for me.
Yeah.
I had a guide dog and I'm waiting for a new guide dog. But I also go to singing group. I go to a singing group on a Wednesday evening called Lucy's Pop Choir, and I love it. and I also go to something called Emerging Voices Choir on a Friday, and it gives me, because I love music. I find music really freeing, and it means that I can just go into my own world with that. And I also do, I'm looking at doing horse riding as well at some point. And I see a lot of friends, I have a lot of friends. I have quite a good social life. I'm wanting to get like a little paid job, little part-time paid job. And yeah, just get in. There's quite a lot of different things that I do. And I have a little cat called Luna, and I've had her for 4 years. I would like to, a job that I'd like to do is work with children, to help, to encourage children with or without disabilities, that they can achieve what they want throughout their life, whatever it is they'd like to achieve, with the right help in place.
Somebody else has asked, what would you change if you could?
What would I change if I could? I would change, I would change, I would probably change like people's responses, like reactions to my disability, rather than my disability itself. My disability itself is not necessarily always the issue. It's other people's responses and reactions to it that are more debilitating, because people think you can't do anything, and then that doesn't, and then you're not necessarily encouraged to do enough. So then that's not helpful, and that's why I'd love to help. I'd like to kind of help other people, and well, that's why I've come on here tonight, to help other people. I shared a flat with a friend, but we decided to go our own separate ways. And then I've had my own flat ever since, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. I have a partner now, and yeah, so and I'm happy with him. So but we've only been together a few months, so and that's another thing, that it, like, you can find someone, or relationships are not, it's not impossible to find someone, kind of thing. It just sometimes can take a bit longer. How do I find my flat? I get housing benefit, so I'm able to manage, and then I get support, and I have to pay for my support myself, or I have to pay for some of my support anyway, and social services pay for the rest, kind of thing. And then obviously I pay for all my bills and everything else, and I get help with budgeting and all that kind of stuff. Every day I have half an hour in the morning and 15 minutes on an evening. So every day I have that. And then 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have support workers come in for 4 hours each time to help with things like cooking, support with cleaning the flat, tidying up, keeping on top of everything, any doctor's appointments that I may need help with going to, then I get that. And going to just going to anything that I need help with, basically food shopping. I get help with doing that once a week, and then any other bits I just go by myself to get. Like I do cooking, I like cooking, and I like going on walks and stuff like that, so I do that as well.
Linda was asking whether you think 15 hours is enough for you.
For me, yeah, that's perfect, because it gives me the space that I need to be able to do what I need to do, like just see my friends and because I travel around the country quite a lot, well, when I feel it's safe to do so, with COVID about and all that lot. Well, when I can't go anywhere at the moment. I'm self-isolating, so because of COVID, because I've got COVID, so but yeah, in general, it gives me the flexibility to be able to travel and go places, but in general I have my support when I need it, and it's great, and it gives me the the ability to be able to live my life basically the way I want to live it, but it's not too many hours, but it's not too little either, so it means that I've got the best of both worlds, where I've got my independence and freedom, but I have and also I can ring up staff if something's wrong. There's an on-call phone, and I also have something called a lifeline, and I'd recommend that as well, for anyone living independently, having a lifeline, because if you have an accident or any trips or falls or anything like that, you can press that, and also or if for some reason you feel unsafe, then that can be pressed as well to say that you feel unsafe or something. And also I've also got my smoke detector hooked up to that, so if that goes off, then I get asked, is everything okay? And then if it is, then that's great. It and touch wood, the everything has been fine, and it's it sometimes gets pressed by accident by my cat treading on it. But people are very good and they understand, so so it means that actually I've got safety, everything's safe, so then I'm not so then if something goes wrong, it's always I'm always able to contact someone if I'm stuck or if something goes wrong.
So that's your safety net?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And my phone is my safety net too. It means that actually I'm able to, if I need to, call someone, and I can get the help that I need to be able to find where I am, kind of thing.
Brilliant. And I know you've got some top tips, but thank you so much for coming. Despite, I'm sorry everyone that we've dragged this poor mentor here with COVID, but actually you wanted to come, didn't you? You phoned me earlier.
I really wanted to come. I was not going to let COVID stop me.
It's a good thing it's virtual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has anyone
It's a very good thing it's virtual, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to come, but obviously.
And it's really lovely for all the parents to hear from you as well. But I was just going to check before we go on to your top tips, because we had some you've got some corkers, I think, whether anyone else wanted to ask some questions of Rachel. You can put it in chat. I'm going to stop spotlighting so I can see hands up. There's just a comment saying thank you from Charlotte, which is lovely.
Oh, no worries. I think I've seen your name before, Charlotte. I think I've seen your name before on Facebook or something.
Yeah, Charlotte's quite key in the VI community, aren't you, Charlotte? She's gone shy now.
No, I'm here now. Sorry. Yeah, I work for Victor Rachel. I do a similar job role to Jane, but just for a different organisation. So yeah, I'm frequently on Facebook sharing stuff. So that's probably why you've heard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah.
I'm Scarlett's mum. I'm more likely Scarlett's mum than Charlotte nowadays, to be fair.
So there you go. There's it says, did you struggle to get your support package?
I didn't struggle to get it at first, but I had a bit of a fight on my hands to when I got a social worker that was really not great, and tried to take my support away from me because I got a guide dog, and because I decided to go to Scarborough by myself, she tried to take it off me, and thankfully I managed to get it back. I managed to get my support back, so I'm very, very aware of how much unfortunately it can be taken away if they think that you don't need it, even when actually that's not true. But yeah, I had to fight to get my support back, but as far as I'm aware, I didn't have any issues getting it, but I've no idea because I didn't kind of sort that out myself, but without it I wouldn't be able to live independently. For me, my support is key to me being able to live in my own flat, and I love it. No worries, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for asking.
So, do you remember some of the top tips you shared with me, or would you like me to prompt you?
Could you prompt me, please?
Yeah, so I've got them in front of me. So one of the first things you said to me was to keep a routine, and that's important to you because it helps.
Yeah, keeping a routine is really, really important, because then you can keep because then you know what you're doing when you're doing it, whereas if it's all too it can be if it's just not if you're not routined and structured, then something can really quickly go wrong and it can get overwhelming, whereas if things are in a nice good routine, but I would also suggest I would I'm trying to think of the word for that. Basically, I can't think of the word, but basically, I would say, also though, be careful not to get it so that there is no room for flexibility, because you need to know how to be flexible to a certain degree, because like there is things that can go wrong and change happens and all of that kind of stuff. So being able to manage and be resilient with changes then is really useful. A caveat, that's it.
Yeah, no, that, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, because part of that is, you said, ensure the right support is in place so situations don't end up scary and overwhelming. So that's true, but also be prepared to cope with change.
Yeah, be prepared to cope with change and manage, and remember that it's okay that actually sometimes things go wrong, and that's okay, but it's finding a solution so that when something, and before it goes wrong, so that when something does go wrong, then you're not having to think of a solution straight away on the spot, because then that can be a bit too much. So a small example is like, if you're going to the shops and you're wanting to get certain items, to make sure that you have a backup in case those items are not there, so then you're not having to think on the spot of what you want or need, because that can be a bit scary and a bit unnerving. And I've walked out of shops before because I didn't know what I needed, because something wasn't there that I wanted or needed, so I couldn't then think. So it's always a good idea to have, and that goes for anything in life really, is just to have a backup of if something isn't there, because then you're not worrying about what could happen or could go wrong. You're only having to deal with you're not having to think about something else. You're just dealing with whatever's happened, basically, rather than having to think about anything else.
I'm going to read a couple more, and you can, kind of expand on them. But one of the things you said to me is that if you have more than one disability, it can make being independent quite difficult. Living by yourself and going out in the world requires a lot more thinking and planning. So I guess that is what you've already said a little bit, isn't it? But
yeah, that it does require planning in advance, so then you're not and also asking for the help, and not being afraid to ask for help, because sometimes it can be really, really frightening to say I need help.
yeah.
Whereas if like yeah, if you need help, then that's okay. And also it's making sure that if for example, for me, like my anxiety can trigger off a seizure, so can trigger off my epilepsy, whereas if I so then I make sure I counteract it by trying to make sure that I don't get as anxious. So I cut out certain or I try and manage my anxiety and stress levels as best I can. So that means kind of asking for certain bits of help. And an example of asking for help is like, so that it didn't add too much stress, is when I went away, I asked for help from York train station. I used one of their wheelchairs just to help, just to get pushed in one of their wheelchairs to help me to the train, just so it gave me that little bit of energy that I didn't have to use at that point, so then I could use it when I actually needed to, when there was no one to help me, kind of thing. So sometimes it's about thinking about when you're going to need help and being able to use it, like use your energy wisely, so it doesn't, and so you so when you haven't got the help there, you're able to manage so that you're not tired, kind of thing, or you're not as tired.
It sounds like you've got really good problem solving skills, but you've had to learn them.
Yeah, I had to learn them.
One of the things, there's two more. One of the things you said was make sure, if needed, you find time to lie in a darkened room, because I think that helps manage your exhaustion and reset.
Yeah.
But also to tell parents, which is a very important top tip, to make sure that we give our children the skills they need to live in the world. Doing things for them is not good preparation. So yeah. I think,
yeah, no, definitely.
So Rachel, thank you so much. It's lovely having you here. You're welcome to stay on the call and just relax now your bit is over, but I'm sure everyone just really appreciates your thoughts and your determination, and the fact that you've got where you have. It's really lovely to have you with us today, so thank you.
No worries, thank you.
So our last person is a fellow professional from Henshaws. Alice, thank you for waiting patiently, Alice.
That's been really interested to sit and listen through anyway. So
brilliant. So I'm going to spotlight you so everyone can see you, and there you go. So Alice is going to talk to us about some of the things that Henshaws provides to support BI young people's independence.
Yeah, so I'm sure some of you will be familiar with Henshaws already. I've seen a couple of names that have joined that are definitely parents that their children come to our activities. But just a quick overview of what we can offer. We're a northern-based charity supporting people living with sight loss and a range of other disabilities. My role in particular is part of the children and young people's team in Greater Manchester. I work with children and young people of all ages. I arrange half-term activities, whether that be kayaking, horse riding, or things the children never thought they'd be able to do. I run virtual sessions, and we have an I Can Do It course, so I'm going to go into a bit more detail on that. Our I Can Do It course was developed to fill the gap for families wanting more skill-based knowledge and confidence building exercises. So we do that with children ages 8 to 18 or up to 25 with additional needs. It includes 6 modules that can be taught online via our I Can Do It online course or through face-to-face activities or our residential trip. So the modules we've got that we focus on are social and emotional skills. So how can your child recognise someone else's mood, maybe by their tone of voice? Online safety, daily living and mobility. So we'd help your child maybe plan a journey, or coin recognition. We've got 2 modules on kitchen skills. So the first one would be, how can you pour your own drink? How would you make a sandwich? Health and safety. And then the second part would be nutrition and weighing and measuring. And the final part of the course is kind of a transition. So what goals and aspirations do you have for the future? We run 2 residential trips a year, one for older and one for younger children at Caft Adventure Farm in South Manchester. But those children that are out of area or wanting to do the course online, we accept that as well, and you can do that anytime online. There are clear modules to work through online with all the resources and worksheets are included, and we'd provide support throughout if you needed to message us and say, help, I don't understand this or anything. And then we also have a knowledge village. That's on our website. So it's a page on our website called Knowledge Village, and I think this is brilliant. It's free to sign up to. There's lots of tips and life hacks on there. They're videos, they're recorded by one of our tech guys in the office, and he sits down and will talk you through different life hacks. So accessible apps, technology, daily living skills, the life hacks, like I said, for example, using an afro comb to help cutting up your vegetables, that's one of them. There's lots of resources for children and young people, and health and wellbeing resources as well. So like I said, that's free to sign up to, no need to be registered with us. I think there are some really useful tips on there for living independently at home, such as colour contrast that you could put around the house, if that's outlining a light switch, maybe with dark tape around that, making sure you have the shelves at the right height for your child. So yeah, I would really recommend that. We do cover Greater Manchester and Merseyside. However, if you felt like your child would benefit from our support, they can join our virtual sessions, or even if you wanted to travel to our half-term events, it's also suitable. So that's kind of a quick overview. I've just plugged you with lots of information. I've got some top tips, but I'm happy to answer questions first.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because we had a chat beforehand and you said that because your online modules can be kind of tailored for the people that attend them, so there could be an opportunity for parents to talk to you beforehand about the support their children might need to attend and things. So
yeah, definitely. I would say any questions, please email me, because if you felt like your child had additional needs, we would definitely tailor the module to them. And like I said, it can be done at any time online.
And part of the reason I wanted to invite Alice, because I think sometimes as parents we just don't know what's available, and it's just really interesting to know that this course has been developed to support young people's independent skills. So please feel free to ask any questions on chat, or if you're brave enough, come off camera or raise your hand.
And like I said, I'm a support that you can email if you want to get your child signed up with us or any other questions.
There you go. Anthea's got her hand up.
Actually, Alice, this isn't a question, it's a congratulations.
Oh.
Henshaws were the first charity that really jumped in and sort of gave us support as Ola's sight was deteriorating. Long story is, her sight has deteriorated over a number of years. So I not so long ago heard from George, and I've actually just messaged Ola to see if she's still in touch with some of the people who she did the I Can Do It course with, and it was excellent. It gave her the boost. It was much better than the cooking skills and everything she gained locally from a local authority, South Manchester. So yeah, no, great charity, great works, and yeah, so thank you for everything that you do as a charity and you're doing. So yeah, and I can't recommend it enough to any other parents who are on the call.
Thank you very much.
So somebody has asked, can you apply for an online course from anywhere in the UK?
Yeah, we if you felt your child needed to develop some independent skills, we can do it from anywhere in the UK. So they would need to be registered with us, which I can sign you up and do that. We'd have a conversation And yeah, the online course can be done anywhere in the UK.
Anything else? Are there any age limits?
Yeah, so it's 8 to 18, but up to 25 with additional needs. Yeah, that's for the online course. For our residential trip, we only do it up to 18 years of age.
Yeah, so the residentials is just because it's your funding, that is just for the local young people, isn't it? But the online is, yeah, and it's something that Alice and I will talk going forward, because it might be that some of the Look mentees want to do it, or that we can offer it kind of as a group. So I will kind of look into that as well.
Yeah.
I also want to let you know that Anna is back online, so you know, we've got 10 more minutes, so please ask Alice anything else, or you know, anybody really, any questions. And also there are some really excellent parents on this call who might even give tips as well for independence, because it's different for every person, and there's some people, someone just said they're in very early stages of their journey, whereas some of us might not have the answers, but we've been trying for a little bit longer. So yeah, please feel free to ask any questions, or I can send you all home. So
I have what you've just said was one of my top tips. It was just stressing that independence looks different to everybody. We can't compare ourselves to others, so if what's independence for one child may be very different to another. And it's just making sure you've got those aids and equipments to best suit your needs and help your independence.
Yeah, and I'm just going to check, because we did have some questions sent in. So the independence should be available, that whole kind of how to support child, through your local services in theory. So I know in Devon they're rehabilitation officers for visually impaired children, and they're different for every local authority, but they're the ones that should, you know, come and support mobility, getting out and about, but also support in home with the equipment, what your child will need, and in school. I remember when Chloe was a lot younger, we had something called caring cutlery to support her kind of just being able to eat at school, and they came and gave us plate guards and things like that. So there are services, but it's individual to each area, isn't it? So what you offer, Alice, is something on top that's completely geared, and it's a chance, I guess, for young people to do it together, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah, I think the main thing really as well is making friends through it. So even when the children do an online I Can Do It course, we would then encourage them to join virtual sessions and speak with other children that have done the course as well.
Yeah. So, do habilitation specialists help children in their own home? In theory, yes, they should. I mean, that's what I've experienced, but I think as they get older, sometimes it can be harder. But yeah, that's what I've experienced. I don't know whether other parents have had kind of that. Yeah, so it is different from everywhere. It depends what the commissioners have given as well. Look, there's loads now. There's been totally blind alone, not qualified for the sport.
And Linda has her hand up as well.
Okay, Linda, you go for it, my lovely.
Just to be controversial, I'm wondering if anything exists currently, and Alice, if you guys provide anything for not just a visually impaired child, but a hearing impaired child and a non-verbal child who's extremely active, but has no form of communication. It's extreme, I know, and I'm wondering how far into the extreme anybody has gone, or whether you have to have at least one attribute to be able to be involved with Henshaws or anybody. Does anybody know anything of any organisation that deals with that sort of extreme line of disability?
I would say as long as the child has a visual impairment, we would work with them. There's a lot of children we work with that have other needs, I haven't specifically worked with anyone that has an hearing impairment, but I know my colleagues have, so it is definitely someone that we can support.
There you go. Charlotte said about holidays as well. Yeah, and I know that Linda does access Sense, but Sense do complex holidays as well. So I don't, holidays and opportunities. So I don't know if you've considered that. I don't know what age that starts, Linda.
We have things like holidays sorted. We have day-to-day living sorted. I'm concerned about particularly what I've heard. So I never even considered him having an independent life, but clearly there are organisations out there. There is the support out there, and but I'm just wondering if, because even Susie's got this fantastic personality which we can all hear, and my son, you can't hear him. He can't communicate with anybody, and so it's not like a locked-in syndrome. He's very physically capable, very physically able, but it's very difficult to even consider him ever leaving home. And so and I'm not a spring chicken. I'm probably one of the oldest here, and so I can't imagine. I've got one of the youngest children. I'm the oldest parent, and I wonder, it kind of gives me hope that there will be probably something out there that hopefully I can track down and find. Alice has just given me lots of hope. So, although we're in Devon, Alice, so if you could just move down here, that'd be great. So to come down here. We've got nothing in Devon, but nothing in the southwest. So, but yeah, it's hopeful at least. But like I said, I never even considered that he would never be, we wouldn't just be his full-time carers all the time. So it's encouraging to know that hopefully there's a place out there somewhere where he can gain independence and be with more people like him, because he's quite restricted he doesn't have any peers. So yeah.
How old is your child, Linda? Sorry, did I miss you saying how old your child was?
They're 7. I've got twins of different needs, but they're 7 currently. They're almost 8.
So yeah, my daughter's low verbal. Well, she's not non-verbal, but she's low verbal. So she doesn't know like how Susie could have conversational language where she'd ask her a question and she'd answer back. Scarlett can say the word of the things that she needs, so she can, like a requesting language. But it took us a long time to get there. So there was probably part of me when Scarlett was 7 that was thinking this will never happen. And obviously a language has developed, although I don't think it'll ever be conversational. I think just as long as they can express what they need and how they feel, they will be able to live in that type of environment. That's my thoughts on it. I probably don't know your son well enough to say, but yeah, when I saw Susie chatting away and answering questions and being able to do that, my daughter isn't there, and I don't think she ever will be there. But I do think that there would be something in the future which would accommodate for that, especially with the 24-hour care.
Can I jump in? It's Anna again.
Yes, please.
The Rainbow Living Houses. So there are now hang on, 1, 2, 3. There are 4 houses, and probably Susie's house is one of the more able houses. A couple of the houses have very profoundly disabled people, including those. The first families, a number of them came together from the West of England School and College, so their children or they're adults now, they're in their 30s, have no sight. A lot of them are on continuing healthcare packages as well. So, they're very profoundly disabled, but they still live in supported living with a personal budget and their own team of support where they have sort of control over their lives. So, I do understand that you're concerned that, if your child is more profound, they may not be able to manage, but it really is building that support around the child or the person, rather than sort of fitting them into what's there.
And I think that was so powerful, wasn't it? You saying that earlier about you know, kind of Susie's voice being the key to unlocking something, and also that your letter. So I will be sharing that with everyone as well. So yeah, thank you, Anna, so much, and hopefully it has given some kind of interesting thoughts, hope, ways forward. Alice, I'm sharing afterwards the top tips that everyone put together. I don't know if Rachel is still here, because she wasn't that great, was she? But she really wanted to come. But yeah, just thank you to everyone who contributed. I'm leaving Alice's details with everyone as well, so I'll send that on so you can investigate and find out further more about the I Can Do It course. So thank you everyone for coming and listening and joining in. And we don't always have the answers, but I love so much hearing from the lived experience and just kind of, yeah, the wisdom. So yeah, brilliant.